Oh, sure. Thanks again for hosting me, and Happy New Year to all those who are present here today. As you said, Dan, my name is Ahmed Aliou. I am a software engineer at AT&T. I freshly graduated from the technical development program. And yeah, for the background, I migrated from Cameroon to the US back in this September of 2019. And I was like, okay, how do I make myself valuable or marketable in the US? So I learned about software engineering. I went down the track of like software path and then joined a career dev program known as Per Scholars. And through the partnership with AT&T, kind of landed an internship, graduated from that internship as a full-time hire. And today, uh, I am thankful for the permanent placement I have with them. I know that's kind of a quick overview, but in a nutshell, here's where I am at today, and I'm happy to share my experience with each and every one of you guys. If that can help, you'll be really grateful. It's always uplifting to kind of give back to the community in one way or the other.
I'm wondering if you can share in a little more detail about the Perscalis program and then also the career development program that you went through at AT&T, because I know that when you and I spoke, those were actually two programs that were new to me, things that I hadn't heard about before. A lot of the Onramp community goes through coding boot camps like Flatiron School and Hack Reactor, but your entrance was a little bit different. So can you share a little bit more information about those programs, why you decided to apply or what you got out of them or how they helped you?
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned before, I went down the self-taught path for a couple of months, I think over 3 to 6 months, and I needed like kind of more structure. So I reached out to these folks from Per Scholars. So the idea with Per Scholars is they are helping out people from underrepresented communities in the tech space to land full-time roles. So they have a screening process. I went through the screening process and I was admitted in the program. So it's a 4 months program. It's kind of a boot camp, but it's not just typically focused on like the hard skills. So you get to have like career coaching, like resume prep sessions. And what's nice with them is they do have a business solution team. So the companies that sponsor the program, because if I didn't mention it, is kind of at no cost to the students. So it's completely free to students. So the company who sponsor the program are willing to give you like a chance to interview with them. So the business solution team, what they do is they gather all these companies or like the process for the interview, they send it out to the students at the end of your boot camp, and you kind of apply. You go through the interview process, and hopefully you get to nail something, which was my case with AT&T. So with AT&T, they do have a technical development program where they do hire people from a non-traditional path as well as freshly graduating students. So they'll train you for 2 years where you get to immerse with the company's culture, get to see like different assignments and see where you can be a best fit or contribute to the best of your abilities. And at the end of the program, the hope is for you to land like permanent placement. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's great. And, and maybe you don't know the answer to this, but I know that this might be a question that a few people have. Is that an ongoing program at Prescalis and AT&T? Are these like yearly cohorts, or do they accept people on an ongoing basis, like a rolling application? Do you know anything about how that works?
Yes, at AT&T, it's an ongoing program. They do hire like twice a year. And I know like a couple of other companies, amongst which GP Morgan and Chase, they do have an emerging software engineer talent program. And they do launch like recruitment twice a year.
Great, thank you. For someone who asked, I just put the name of that first program, Perscalis, in the chat. We are running Onramp Elevate right now, which is our mentorship program. And there was actually another graduate from Perscalis who got a 6-month-long apprenticeship with Uber. So that's 2 people that I've now met and have a chance to get to know who have gone through that program successfully. So it may be something worth checking out if anybody else is interested in it. So I want to open the floor to questions. Folks, if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box or unmute. Again, this is your time and your opportunity to ask. It sounds like Hey or Hi wants to know, what's the name of the AT&T program?
That's a technical development program, like a TDP.
Thank you so much. And Ganesh, you have your hand up. Go ahead and unmute.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I was wondering, since you've been in the industry for a while, like I'm actually finishing a program right now, and I've noticed I'm having difficulty like with the technical interview prep with like lead coding and that stuff. What kind of I guess any kind of tips in terms of study habits or like your um learning pattern that you use to kind of get better at that? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. And I guess even the best of us, we had to struggle with the technical portion of the interviews, especially for the software engineering track, where you have to do like a lot of data structures and algorithm, which is not always at the forefront of the curriculum. So what I did in my case is a lot of external resources that I use to supplement. And I think you mentioned a few of them: HackerRank, LeetCode, and Algo Monster. So I guess you know how it's kind of laid out, but it takes definitely some time. And I'll say like patience here, like being resilient in like the study plan helped a lot here. So
How,
do a lot
sorry.
please.
Yeah, sorry, I just want to follow up. So, like, how did you get to internalize the data structure and algorithms instead of just like kind of, 'cause, there've been times where I see it and then I can do it right then and there, but then it's not internalized for like the next time I see it. I'm like, what do I do now? It's like, so how did you get to internalize that stuff and kind of really get to um apply it to at different times? Because I find myself a lot of time like when I'm studying it, I know it there. But then the next time it pops up, I'm like, what do I do? You know?
Sure, I had a little trick. So I'll go by breaking things down. I'll always go for the easy questions for a beginning, and I'll break it down by topics. So if I'm studying array and then I read all what has to do with the theoretical part of arrays, then I make sure I tackle the questions that are just limited to arrays, right? I'll do the same for strings and all the other like algorithms that you have on this coding platform. So I'll break them down to start with the easiest question first and then build on top of that. And one trick I had is I won't force it. Like over 30 minutes, it's okay for you to look up the answer and try and see from the pattern that the person developed, and not cramming the answer per se, but understanding the pattern the person has and build on top of that, see how you can improve on that, or if you can at least reproduce the same pattern without you necessarily cramming the answers. And the key to it was practice. Like I'll do it today, I might forget, but I'll just stick to it like 2, 3 times. I end up having a good grasp of the pattern behind, like the logic behind his solution. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, that was helpful, very helpful. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We've got a couple of questions here in the chat. Hey is asking again, did you have to take a technical interview to get into the AT&T program? What's the application process like? And then Hanak, we'll get to you next.
Yeah, sure. So it's a 2-phase or 3-phase process. So the very first portion is a technical interview, like the coding one, which is hacker rank. So they'll send you over a link and you'll take it at your earliest convenience. So get past the stage, you go to like the screening phase, which is more of like a behavioral interview. It's more of cultural fit there. So you just get to learn how to say nice things and understand like what is it that is required from you. So if you get to pass the stage, the next stage or the third phase was, I think, a take-home assessment. So they give you kind of a project and you have to work on that project and submit it back to them.
Great, thank you. Henok, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Did you still have a question? Go ahead and unmute us. So.
Yes, I have a question. First of all, thank you for like organizing this event. And my question is, I'm a software engineer background with a chemical engineering background. So I had a chance to graduate from a boot camp, and I was just kind of lost in my ways and see what kind of pathways does AT&T like provide for people in that area, and what candidate with like a boot camp certificate.
I'll say you shouldn't feel any complex. Boot camp is a very good way to jumpstart your career. And at AT&T, I think they recognize that, and that's why they're willing to work with non-traditional hires. Like whatever field you're coming from, you always have like soft skills, or like you always have something you can bring on to the table. It's not always about like how good you are at the technologies, but the ability for you to work with people and like learn on the spot, right? You always be learning as a software engineer. So the projects you might be working on, the technologies will always change. But if you have that mentality where you can teach yourself how to learn, you're always curious and you have like that growth mindset, you'll be very helpful. So coming from a boot camp, like isn't like limiting you in any ways. And the companies, they know that and they're willing like to work with boot camp grads as well. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. We have another question. Did you know how to code before you started Perscalis?
Oh, yes. I used a lot of free code camp. It's like online resource. And I kind of learned a little bit of like JavaScript on my own. I remember taking a course from a guy called Wes Boss. He has like the 30 days challenges. So I kind of worked a little bit just so I know, okay, I'm getting into this program and at least I should have an idea of what software engineering is. But other than that, I didn't have any prior experience.
Thank you. Another question. This is from Zena. My question is, how did your soft skills or past experience help you with doing your job?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. So I'll say analytical thinking. So as a software engineer, like things are not necessarily laid out for you, and you have to know how to ask like the right questions and to the right people in order to get the tasks done. So you being able to approach people without any complex of like, I don't know this, how will I be looked upon? Like being able to spark a conversation and ask people, hey, how do I do this? Or just clarify this for me was a great thing. And the willingness and motivation like to learn, I would say, was like one of these things that will always help me stand out, because I didn't limit myself to what is given to me. I want to go like deep into things, like understand how things work how will I say it, at a deep level. And that always makes the difference, like that curiosity or like that motivation you have graduating from a boot camp. It did help.
Thank you so much. A follow-up question from Ganesh. When you're, oh, I'm sorry, this is you actually giving advice to someone. Apologize for that. While we're waiting for some more questions come in, I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit about, we had talked about embracing a growth mindset when you're going through this process. I think for a lot of people, the job search is it's almost tougher than learning how to code, right? Like learning how to code is one thing, but then when you get out on the market, you're putting your applications out there. Maybe you're getting interviews, but then rejected. Maybe you're not getting interviews. I mean, it's hard not to feel a little bit set back or sometimes demoralized, especially after a really tough year like 2023. And by the way, folks, the conversations that I'm having with engineering managers is that the tide is starting to change and hiring is starting again in Q2 and should ramp up throughout the year. So hopefully this hiring winter is nearly over. But for right now, it can be tricky to keep that sort of growth mindset, to continue self-learning when you feel like, you're not making any progress. Can you speak to that at all? Like what can somebody do in a tough job market, to keep themselves competitive, to keep their head in a good place? Can you share anything about kind of like the psychology of what you went through when you were learning and looking for a job?
Yeah, that's a great question, I'll say, because you get those rejections. Like for sure, I had a lot of them, and I know how it feels to be in that position. But you have to like keep pushing through. One thing that was always recommended is tailoring your resume. Like each job posting you see out there, try to tailor your resume to your best to like the specific position. Now, working with a group, like do not isolate yourself. Like if you have like friends or teammates with whom you're in this journey, like just staying together, sharing like the word, like, hey, I know of this program which is out there, or I know of someone who is willing to recruit. Can you apply? I think that really can really help someone. Other than that, I'll say keep building on your skills, the skill set, because if you have like a GitHub account, and the more like you work on side projects or you do like your coding challenges, you want to show that you're active in this space as well. I would recommend working on side project with a little bit more of like seasoned developers, so you can get to learn from them. Uh, Even if it's not paid, like that experience will come in handy either in an interview or like on the job.
Beautiful. We have a follow-up question from Zena. Zena says, what are the traits or things you notice about good software engineers versus the great ones, in your opinion? And what do you typically see in non-traditional ones that tend to do well?
Oh, can you repeat the question again for me, please?
Absolutely. So it's really two questions. So why don't I just break them down into two? Sorry, I've got this like light right behind me. It looks like I'm descending from heaven. Sorry about that, y'all. All right, so let's just break this into two questions. So the first question is, what are things you notice about good software engineers versus great software engineers? And probably the question Zena's like asking underlying is like, what makes a great software engineer rather than just a good one?
Yeah, that's a tough question. So I'll say what makes the difference between a good and a great software engineer, to my opinion, is your ability to understand the people you're working with. I guess each and every one of us has like a different like communication or working style. And what helps stand out in a team is your ability to navigate through this. Sometimes it's not just about the work you're delivering, but how you present that to, let's say, your customers or like your co-workers. So in a nutshell, I'll say your ability to fit in within a team and explain like whatever you're doing, like being transparent on your work, that really makes the difference.
Thank you. And then the follow-up question or the additional question to that was, you know, do you work with other engineers with a non-traditional background? So folks that came from a boot camp or came through a program like the one you went through at AT&T, maybe folks who have taught themselves engineering rather than getting the 4-year computer science degree. And if you do work with more folks like that, like what do you notice about them? Is there anything you can share about, you know, why they're successful or I don't know, any traits that you might be able to share to help somebody who's in the same boat?
Yeah, the willingness to learn and like never stop. That's like something that's very common amongst like people who come from a non-traditional background. Like they always strive for the best. They're always willing to pick up new challenges. And that's what I can say.
That's a great answer. This question is from Devin. Hi, Ahmed. Thanks for sharing your experiences. What do you like most about working for AT&T?
That's a great question. I'll say at AT&T, I found like a very supportive family, a massive support system. And AT&T gives you the ability to grow not only like within the workspace, even out of the workspace. They have like a lot of online resources that you can use like to stay like very relevant on the market. They do have very good programs that will assist you with maybe like tuition and I'll say all that good stuff. So I'll say the work culture at AT&T first, the fact that there is a very supportive environment and all the other possibilities they give you beside your permanent placement to grow in terms of your career.
Thank you so much. This question is from Larry. How do you deal with imposter syndrome?
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know if you ever get rid of it, but the first thing I know is take action. Understand like why is it that you feel like that? Is it that you need to supplement like your technical skills? Is it that you're not just comfortable about like going through a specific situation? So understanding where you are and leaning on those who are going through the same experience. So I'd say that will really help navigate or overcome like the imposter syndrome, by acknowledging where you are at first and trying to understand like why is it that I'm feeling this way will help you like get over it.
Thank you so much. Promise, you've got your hand up. Go ahead and unmute.
Yeah. All right. So one quick question. I currently work with AT&T as well. I work in sales though, and I'm trying to transition into the TDP program. I'm wrapping up my bachelor's degree in cybersecurity. And I know with TDP, we don't have any tracks where you can actually do something cybersecurity related. It's like DevOps, you know, software engineer, network engineer, technical business manager. But I was saying that because I want to get into cloud security after I finish my degree. Do you think the DevOps track is a relevant path for that after
Yes,
TDP graduation?
yes, definitely, definitely. All what has to do with DevOps and system engineering would be the good fit for you.
Cool, thanks. And then one more question. I'm sorry. Are you using like any cloud platforms in particular, or what are we using the most? Because I use a lot of Azure, but I didn't know if AWS might be more prevalent, or depending on what business unit you're in and things like that. I'm pretty sure it's hybrid
Yeah,
model. So
I know AT&T is using like Azure. So all of our platforms, I don't want to give like too much information out, but we do use a lot of Azure. So if you're learning Azure, you're already on the good track.
all right, thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Alberto, you've got your hand up. Go ahead and unmute.
Yes, thank you, Ahmed, and thank you. This question is, so AT&T is pretty big company and they host a lot of in-person events. Can you share an occasion, either you personally attend an event or you heard from a recruiter that a developer made a good impression that actually made the hiring team follow with that person rather than applying blindly and just submitting a resume, trying to build more on the personal aspect or interacting with another developer or team from AT&T?
Yeah, I know within the TDP program, we're given the opportunity to go like on campus recruiting events. So we go out there, meet like students and talk about the program. The idea is to get people to apply. Now, I don't know if they have ever extended like an offer to someone out of like the normal process. But each and everyone, you're like highly encouraged to apply. And at the end of the day is how do you perform at the interview? So the behavioral portion here comes in very handy and it weighs in like very heavily. If you have a good feeling with the person who interviews you, he can score you like very high and you get to kind of showcase like your personality or you can distinguish yourself. So it's not like too much on the technical aspect because at the end of the day, they will teach you what you need to know on the job, right? It's more about the personality. Is this someone that will fit in within the company's culture? Is it someone who is willing to learn or work with us? Is it someone who is willing to pick on like challenges or seize this opportunity? So the behavioral aspect of the interview will tell that, but I guess you have to go through the process.
Did that answer your question, Alberto?
Oh, yeah, yes, it is. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, getting back to the chat box. Promise your hand is still up. I don't know if you have another question or if it's still up from before. I don't want to ignore you in case you had another one.
Oh no, I'll take it down right now. Sorry about that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, just wanted to check. All right, great. So jumping back into the chat box questions. This is also from Larry. How do you tackle learning a large code base or a new technology or framework?
So a new framework, let's say if you're looking at React, I always go by the documentation, the source documentation itself. And I like doing like hands-on projects. So I'll try and do like a small project just for me to understand now if it's a large code base. I want to understand things from the user perspective. So what is this application doing? And from there, I'm looking at, okay, which part of the code realizes this specific feature? And that's how I kind of build on top of or navigate like the code base or learn like a new platform. But I do a lot of hands-on, see things from the user's perspective, or do something where I get to like practice it myself. And whenever I'm confronted with the situation, I know how to navigate now the theoretical aspect or the documentation to find answers to the solution or to find answers to the problem I'm looking at.
Thank you. Next question is from Sadiq. Thank you, Ahmed. How important is it to network? And how did you leverage your network to land your position?
Oh, it's very important to network, I'll say. To end my position, I would say it was through our business solution team. So maybe I didn't have to actively network yet, but once you're within the company, it's a very large company, and it's sometimes knowing the right people and knowing those people whom share like your common interest or going through the same process. Let's say I'm a junior developer. I'll always make myself, I always want to be mentored by much more seasoned developers within the company. They face like the same challenges I'm going through, and they are much more willing because they relate to my position. They know where I am at, and they're willing to help and give like very informed advices. So I see networking as the bread and butter, like not only for like landing a position or getting a job, but just to grow as a developer. I see networking as something that's very useful, learning from others' experience and being able to ask questions that you deem important to you. How did others like navigate through that? Think networking becomes like an indispensable tool. I hope
Thank you.
that. Okay, cool.
Great. Okay, so a few more questions about this AT&T program are coming in. So Manny's saying that I checked the AT&T program webpage and it seems the program is for someone who is currently enrolled in college or university. Do you know if boot camp graduates are also eligible?
I'll say yes, and they should have a link, a specific link that's kind of dedicated for like the non-traditional hires. Now, I don't know, I have to do a little bit of assignment of it if they do partner with specific boot camps. So even if it's available to non-traditional hires, is it reserved to like specific boot camps or like people from any other boot camp can join? So I'll do a little bit of assignment on that and I'll get back to you with the answer.
Thank you so much. Next question is from Diana. Can you talk a little bit about the type of projects that you work on and perhaps your favorite one?
Yeah, for my first two rotations, it was full stack web development. We work a lot with a variety of technologies from React in front end, Angular on the back end. We did like Flask, Python, and Spring Boot Java. The one I loved the most was a proof of concept we developed on my first assignment. It was a tool that used machine or like AI. It's a tool powered by Azure called optical character recognition. So we developed like an app which was able to go through documents and see if the terms in the documents matched what we had in the database and say, okay, these contracts are executable or not. In other words, it helped a lot with like automation and streamlining of processes. And it was like a really good project to master like web development and see how you can integrate like some AI tools to deliver on like something that's like really impacting the company.
Thank you. This is, it looks like another just clarification question about the AT&T program. It says on the website that the program requires a bachelor's degree in STEM. Did you have that, or could you get around that requirement by being a Per Scholas alum?
Yeah, that's why I said like the non-traditional path will help you get around that.
Okay, great. Folks are asking if you can share links to the program. I don't know if anybody in the chat has found those links, but if you have, please go ahead and drop them in the chat for everyone else. That would be great. Let's see here, just scrolling. Oh, Ganesh is saying the JP Morgan applications are closed, but they open it up every few months. All right, getting to another question from Zena is about industry trends. What are the most in-demand skills these days, or what skills will be in demand in your opinion?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll say a lot of DevSecOps, all that has to do with cloud platforms, the operation side, like system engineering. It's gonna be in high demand because that's just what we see in a day-to-day base. Even as a software engineer now, like the skill set is kind of broadening. Like you're required to know a little bit of cloud and understand like the operation side of things. So I'll say anything that has to do with cloud or system engineering can blow up. Beside that, I'll say data engineering or data analysis. It's also a good path to explore.
Thank you. All right, let's see here. Ganesh is saying around mid-April, the Google apprenticeships open, so check that out as well around that time. Thank you. Thank you to Diana. All right, great. So are there any other questions, folks? We still have, about 15 minutes here. If you have any more questions about, the work that Ahmed is up to, his journey into tech, his advice. Thanks, Zena. Okay, so another follow-up. How do you see AI impacting the skills that people are learning or that companies want people to have? Yeah, I think AI is a big topic on everybody's mind. What are you seeing internally at AT&T?
Well, I'll say AI will help make you a better developer. So with AI, or like the way I see incorporate AI in development now in your IDEs, you can have like auto completion or code suggestion features thanks to AI. You can use like AI as a learning tool, and it just like makes the research process very easy, So I think AI will help make you a better developer. And I do not necessarily see AI like as a threat to software developers, like AI coming over to take a developer job or making the skills you're learning irrelevant, but it can be used as a supplemental tool and help you get the best out of what you're doing.
Thank you. Another question from Hi. What advice would you give to junior engineers who are, like basically competing against mid-level or senior engineers with years of experience who were just laid off and are competition for jobs? I think they'll get hired before junior engineers every day. Do you have any thoughts about this?
Oh, yeah. It's kind of a difficult time right now. A lot of companies are having like hiring freezes just because of the economic situation. But what I can say is there is like demand, and when applying for a position, you need to like know which one might be the best fit, or at least be aware that, okay, I can try my best, but if there is someone out there that has better competencies than me, I might not end up getting the job. And building on like your skill sets, I'll say it's definitely, in one word, maybe a tough position to be at, but hopefully things get better, and the like the landscape changes, and there are like more positions where companies are much more willing to give a chance to like entry-level developers.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to read this out loud from Sonia. Tanika Askew. We've actually done Twitter Spaces with Tanika before. She's great. She's a friend of Onramp. But if you follow Tanika on Twitter, I'm going to just go ahead and say Twitter. It's a great way to find out about a lot of various opportunities in tech. She does post these pretty frequently. She'll do like roundups of upcoming apprenticeships or free training opportunities. She's a great resource. Wonderful. Any more questions? Anything else we can cover? We've got a few more minutes of time here, folks. I really appreciate you sharing all of this. Oh man, this is wonderful information to have. Oh, Zena is asking, can we connect with you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, sure. I'll be more than happy.
Do you mind if I drop your LinkedIn profile link in the chat box?
Okay.
Let's see here. Hay is asking, oh, great question. Is there anyone we should reach out to make a human connection for these opportunities? And I'm assuming these are the opportunities at AT&T. Correct me if I'm wrong, Hay.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I know within the TDP program, they do have like a campus recruiting team. And each time they're programmed to go out, like they make sure the events are available. So I'll be more than happy to get back to you with that information and like the links whenever they are made available to apply for those positions. And you can always go down there and talk like face to face with like the recruiters. Like that will be your best starting point.
Beautiful, thank you.
And I can also get you maybe the LinkedIn of like the chief recruiter, if that helps.
Oh, Ganesh, I got your hand up. Go ahead and unmute.
Yeah. I just had a quick question about like when you're saying regarding reaching out to recruiters, what's the best approach to that? What do you recommend in terms of reaching out to recruiters? Like, because you don't want to like you don't want to sound like you want to be professional about it, and then also like how do you find these recruiters from these companies, and what's the best way to get their attention and kind of have them look at your resume, sort of like what would be the best approach there?
Oh, I'll say it really depends on each and everyone, but I remember during my job hunting phase, they will encourage us to reach out to the recruiters directly on LinkedIn and just tell them, hey, here's where I am at, and I believe I can be a good fit. Like, will you be willing to give me like a chance to interview or like consider me at least for like an interview? So that's what I did when I was like in the phase of like looking for a job. I hope that answers your question.
Yep, that was perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any more lingering questions burning you up inside that you want to share? Mine's going twice. All right, thank you, Ahmed. I'm not sure if you're seeing this in the chat box, but lots of thanks, appreciation, and gratitude coming in. Thank you all for your time, for sharing your questions. Really appreciate, Ahmed, you coming and sharing your experience. It means so much to us, for folks that are really trying to find that way into the industry, especially from those non-traditional backgrounds. It's really helpful to hear from folks like you who have found unique ways, to be successful. And we really appreciate you taking the time to share that with us.
Thanks. That's my pleasure.
Thank you to everyone who participated today. Thanks for your questions and enthusiasm. We have another session next week. I'll get the information out about that probably tomorrow. Thank you as always for joining us. And for anybody interested in the next Onramp Elevate mentorship program, we are gathering the mentors right now, and we will put out information about applications soon. I don't have a launch date yet, but if you're following us on social media, LinkedIn or Twitter, or if you're on our mailing list, which you can join on our website, you will receive information about that program, and I'd love to see you apply. Great. Thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate your time. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.